What's up, guys? Hope you all are doing well. Hope you all can hear me. So, if anyone over here is from the tribe, please share the link of this live at the group so that we can have as many more people. And Nikki's just joining us in a few minutes. Let's bring in everyone together over here first. Also, I would personally highly recommend everyone who's probably into the world of, fashion designing or just, you know, closet stylings and all of that. Please do share this specific link with all those people because it's gonna be, these sort of opportunities we actually get, uh, you know, in a very rare situations. Which group you said about? I'm talking about the tribe, bro. I think Karan is here. Karan can probably share the link of this live at the group. Where are you from? I'm from Delhi. I'm from Delhi. I'm sorry, bro. The group is completely full. We are not adding anyone as of now. Hi, Krishan. Hi, Kush. Yeah, Nikki's over here. Let's just add her and we shall begin then.
Hi.
Hi, Nikki.
Hi. How are you?
All good, Nikki. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm sleepy, but I'm good.
I'm so sorry.
Morning.
It's just the time. It's just the time zones that's like
Yeah,
just a way
it's
to
fine. I
bit
apologize.
of a task to,
Yeah,
to plan around.
yeah. No, it's not a problem. I completely understand.
So how's everything going?
Good. Tired. Ready for bed. How's your morning?
Morning's good. Morning's good. There's a big event that's lined up today for the Delhi peeps in India. So most of the people are active and ready to just head over to the event. And
Oh,
I assume like most of these people would be like joining this live before they actually head over to the event.
wait, you have like an actual event where people can gather?
But it's like everyone's taking precautions, socially
Oh,
distant, and all of that. Yeah,
okay. I was like,
but
wow,
it's
so advanced. We don't get to do that here.
yeah. So that's pretty much about it. Before we begin, obviously, I really have to address the fact that it's actually a privilege having you over here, and it's very rare that we get to connect with someone like you, that we actually get to connect with someone who has been in this whole space for quite some time now. But I guess it's just the right moments and the right times when we actually get to know more about artists like you. And maybe I think Stussy was one big thing that actually happened, what brought a lot of eyeballs towards you, right?
Yeah, I think it's one of the most recent things. And thank you for inviting me. I'm so happy to talk to you and to anyone that's on here paying attention. Um, I've I've worked in this industry for 21 years now, so yeah. I've worked with so many people. I feel like um, this is the first time that I've done something within this particular like sneaker world. Like I did a
Yeah.
collaboration with fans a long time ago, maybe like 6 years ago or so, 6 or 7 years ago. Um, but yeah, and it's just a whole new world of people. And I was a little concerned, to be honest, when I was talking to them about doing this project about putting my name on it because I didn't really want to, because the sneakerhead community is kind of intense and I
True.
wasn't really
Yeah.
sure what the response was going to be, but it's been really nice. Everybody's been really kind and supportive and educating me on bots, which is something
Yeah.
to know about. But yeah, yeah.
So personally speaking, I love the whole collaboration between you and Stussy. I loved all the sneakers that you've designed, that you've dyed majorly. But the idea and the thought behind each and every city, how you've designed, how you've come up with the ideology, we'll definitely talk about that later. But I personally loved it.
Thank you.
I
Thanks.
personally loved it. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
let's just get on with it. And obviously, I know that you also have to head over to your bed. So let's just quickly try and wrap it up. But yeah, so to begin with, as you told us, like it's been good 20, 21 years since you've been in this industry. How did you actually get into this whole world of fashion and majorly not just fashion, but also in this whole space of bringing sustainability in this whole world where you were actually entering?
Oh goodness, that's a really complicated question. Um, I think that I being mindful of consumption has been important to me from when I was young, and I actually studied natural medicine
Okay.
when well, I first was going to school to study Western medicine. I went to university and then I dropped out and switched and studied natural medicine. So just coming into the art world and into fashion with that original mindset makes it just conceptually different when you're thinking about these things in reference to humanity rather than your
True.
ego. It's
Yeah.
a very different perspective. Um, I moved to LA, and I just met up with a really good friend of mine who had just opened up this creative space, and we started making art and had this really experimental fashion line together, and it just it just happened. I mean, it was really like just being young and doing what we wanted to do and not realizing that maybe we couldn't do it or we shouldn't do it. And LA was also really affordable place to be creative back then. Um,
Sure.
and My friend had a lot of connections to stylists in Hollywood, so we just started making clothes for musicians and music videos and commercials, and I started doing a lot of styling assisting, and so I just met a lot of people, and um, yeah, and that was really kind of how it all sort of transpired. Like it all just kind of came together, and then I got
Sure.
really disillusioned with the fashion industry, and I stepped away for a while, and I worked for this artist T-shirt company out of Japan, doing curation and creative direction for them for a little while, and then I got over that, and I started working on my art practice again. Um, but I think through all of it, keeping things really small and as local as possible, um, it was always important, like thinking about the actual person that would be wearing whatever I made was the intention behind what I was doing. And when I started working on the fiber art project, that was the biggest part of it, was trying to make it truly sustainable. So keeping
Sure.
everything as close to me as I possibly could, where all of the fiber was made within a drive away from me. So if I could find the fabric that had been grown and milled and turned into actual fabric where I could drive to pick it up, and then finding the dyes outside of my house, we have so many different trees and things that I could harvest dyes from, and just showing on such a tiny scale like what sustainability really is, where you're the one
True.
in control of what what is being cast off from your production. You're in control of that too, so
Yep.
that when I am finished with the dye pot, I'm the one responsible for disposing of it, and I think just working in fashion and apparel and being hyper aware of all of the waste and how toxic it is, just environmentally toxic, it made it even more important for me to be able to do something where I was able to connect with the public and help them understand how personal it is, because it seems
True.
like such a big concept of like, oh, it doesn't affect me. It happens in countries where the manufacturing is, and I think a lot of people have that kind of, it's easy to have that selfish sort of mentality about it, but when you start to realize that no, it doesn't just affect those rivers in China that are being completely polluted from dye runoff, and it doesn't just affect the people that are working in the farms, and it's you start to bring it around where people realize like, oh, this affects me too, then I feel like that's where we can start to affect change. Um,
Sure.
so that was a big part of me starting this particular art practice that I've had for the last 16 years now, is being able to, and also just educate people that there is there's the human element to making clothes too, like
Yep.
but people forget that the fabric, most of what they're wearing was grown somewhere, and so it's easy to forget the farm workers. It's easy to forget the people that work in the mills and process all of that fiber, and then the people that weave it, and then the people that work in the dye factories. And they don't think about all of that. All they think is like someone was cutting and sewing this along the way, and there's this designer. Like
Yep.
that's as far back as their mind goes. And when it comes to pricing and thinking about fast fashion and all of that, they forget that within that price point, all of those other people have to be paid too.
Yep.
So it's like it's such a big, it's such a huge thing to undertake. But if you can start to show people how things are made, because in the beginning, a long time ago, I was also doing all of the weaving. So I was weaving all of my fabric, and I was
Okay.
dyeing and cutting and sewing everything just to show the entire process. It's like just a little tiny light of realization goes on in people's minds, and then I think that's how we can get people to start thinking differently about the way that they shop and how they consume. And um, yeah, anyway, that's the shortest way I
Makes
can answer
sense.
that heavy question.
That does make sense. That does make sense. That does. Yeah, but yeah, before we move forward, for everyone who's actually watching this, please drop in any questions if you guys have. We'll try to answer as many possible. And yeah, moving forward, like what we normally see and what we saw during this whole Stussy collaboration also was the fact that you use all the organic colors. You harvest them, or you just try to use as many things organically as possible, right? Uh, what I per
Yes.
what I personally want to know is how effective are they? Because whenever something is synthetic, we know that it's gonna, one way or the other, it's gonna like kind of last long, or it's gonna sustain itself because it's synthetic. It's made for that specific purpose,
Right.
right? But how effective are these organic colors, and how do you try to, probably get hold of all these colors?
Um, well, to be perfectly honest, the chemical dyes also fade and shift. Um, but that's a whole other conversation. Um, it's really just about knowing how to work with the dyes and knowing what you're working with. So with these in particular, I worked with tannin-based dyes, so they are like there's tannin in tea and there's tannin in wine,
Yeah,
and tannin in so many different things, and they tend to be more self-mordanting. This it gets technical, but the process of making those dyes more long lasting is just about your technical knowledge and ability. So
sure.
um, it's about processing, like preparing the fabric before well, so that the whatever natural plant materials you're using can actually attach to the fabric and stay. Um,
Sure.
so technically, if you are working with plants that that contain dye stuff, then you should have no problem with it sticking around. I mean, it's natural, so of course it's going to shift and change over time, which I think is the beauty of working with natural colors,
Yeah.
that you don't just have this really flat, even color that has no nuance to it. Um, and also, that your body affects the color also. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of history with that, but yeah, I have never actually dyed a ready-made shoe before, like full disclosure. Um, I've worked with other shoe companies, but they give me either leather or fabric, and I do all the work, and then they do the cut and sew. So this was the first time that had happened. And when my friends at Stussy came to me with this project initially, I was like, oh no, mm-mm, I'm not doing this. this is this is gonna be such a nightmare. This is gonna be so much hard work. But I really love them, and I loved the project, and it just seemed like, okay, let's see if we can make this work, and it did, which was really
Yeah.
exciting for me.
It did for sure.
It did work. Um, but yeah, I think that it was good for me too to be able to fall back on like things that I know for certain will work. Like the indigo was kind of a no-brainer, and then
Yeah.
I worked with chestnut bark to make the gray, and it's just like those two dyes will stick around. So it was the ones where I did the direct application were the ones that was an experiment. It was I wasn't quite sure how that was going to turn out.
Okay. Okay.
But
Sure, sure, sure.
yeah.
Sure, but do you kind of feel proud, or what's the feeling when you get to actually see a lot of other people, doing the same sort of stuff after they've watched you, or after they've seen the Stussy collab coming out? Like I've seen a lot of people just dyeing their, Stussys, or even just generic Air Force Ones, and just dipping them in natural colors and just letting that be, and just trying something new out of it.
I love it. I love it. It's the
I'm
great.
sure you've seen a lot of them.
Yeah, I have so many sent to me all the time. I try and put them on my stories, but I absolutely love it. Like honestly, that's the reason why I do this. So being able to
Sure.
see people, because I had so many people that were so upset about the fact that they couldn't get the shoes, but
Yeah. Yeah.
seeing people actually taking that inspiration and turning it into something is it's super
True.
exciting. People are creating really beautiful things, and even the people that are working with like fiber active dyes, or I've seen some people working with just like a RIT dye that you can get in the supermarket and creating something really beautiful. um, yeah, it's fun. I love
True,
it.
true. To be honest, I'll just personally tell you, I tried that same thing, but I actually had like the leather one. So the dye obviously did not sustain itself. But I'm just definitely going to try something with maybe like a Converse, which has like a canvas material, and I'm sure going to try that.
Wait, what did you try to dye the leather with?
No, so I was just trying to use the organic colors, whatever I could source around. Like I tried the beetroot tannins and I tried the turmeric tannins and all of that. So obviously because
Oh,
it's
just
leather, yeah,
yeah.
it's just kind of difficult. And I tried to like prepare the leather too, but it just did not work. So I will try it over a canvas,
Try with
maybe.
canvas first. Yeah,
Yeah, I
you can
will.
dye leather with indigo.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, you can dye leather with indigo. Um, I mean, the biggest thing I think with dyeing a leather shoe in like a dye bath is that it might shrink a little.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It is. I love that. I love that whole process. So, talking about these organic dyes only, so you obviously have that whole experience wherein you know how to, come up with different tannins and how to maybe bring out colors from a specific organic source, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can someone source these colors, these organic colors, if they want to source them by themselves, and some potential tips wherein you can actually give to some other people who would like to come up with say different colors, and that's something that they can source from from themselves, like how I tried bringing out yellow from turmeric,
Yeah.
and like the reddish tones from the beetroot stuff, right? So if there's any tip that you have for them.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like where you are, you have such an incredibly deep, rich history of natural dyes. So
Yeah,
there's like, I could, but I think for, like the mango tree, the
yeah,
leaves from the mango tree makes a really beautiful yellow, kind of yellow tannish color. You have madder root. You have so many dyes. You have so many dyes like sappanwood, and there's so many things in your country that
yeah,
you use
yeah. I'm
to
sure if you come down over here, you just won't go back. I'm so sure.
yeah. I'm like I feel like it's just endless the amount of things that you could use, but honestly, like things like beetroot or those sort of things they're not fast, so meaning like
Yeah,
the color won't stay because they don't actually contain any flavonoids that like the dye chemical. So
yeah.
there's actually no dye inside of those plants. Um, but yeah, I could give you a whole list that you can give to your followers. I can give you
Definitely, definitely.
that 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 people could use. But easy things are, like onion skins is a
Yeah,
really easy thing to use. Um, I feel like that's kind of also the fun of working with natural dyes is
yeah,
going out into your local area and just trying things, just seeing like, oh, maybe this leaf or maybe like this flower or something might have some color in it. Um,
yeah,
yeah, just experimenting, just like being like a little
yeah.
kid again. That's kind of the fun of it, and not taking it so seriously.
Sure, makes sense. So, I basically got to know more about this whole turmeric. So, I've personally actually learned wine. So, I have this whole idea as to how tannins work and what's the idea behind tannins, how you can, probably get these tannins off some organic sources or whatever. But about turmeric and everything, I actually got to know from someone in India itself. Her name is Veda. She's a crazy sneakerhead again from Mumbai only, and she basically has a friend. And I'm really sorry, guys, if I like miss out on the name, but I think her name is Kanika. She also has some sort of an art project wherein she's customizing a lot of stuff, and she's also using these organic dyes and everything. So that's
Ooh,
how I got to know. That's how I got to know about the yellow color to get out of turmeric and everything. So
yeah,
that was really kind of cool for me. And I see a lot of people who are getting into this whole sustainability in this whole world of fashion in India. I really need to shout out a couple of people who are like, so there's this brand called No Gray Area who's trying their level best to source and keep everything at a very sustainable level. Of course, not any brand cannot be 100% sustainable,
yeah.
like just like that. But No Gray Area is one. Rising Among is another. Then I recently got to connect with a brand called Work in Progress.
Oh,
So yeah, so their brand name in itself is Work in Progress, and the brains behind that whole brand is basically Ishita Mehta. So shout out to her. She's been doing some really amazing work, and I got to get hold of a piece, and it's just beautifully designed. It's just beautifully curated. So yeah, there are a lot of people who are getting into this whole space of sustainability.
yeah.
So, if I have to ask you, because I see sustainability wherein a lot of people think that a product should last longer and that's how it's more sustainable. But I personally feel that sustainability comes from a level wherein how, as to how you actually source your products also,
Yes.
because it just adds if it's getting sourced, say if we are in India and we are sourcing something from, say, Hong Kong, the travel, the pollution that it's going to cost just because of the travel, it's going to be way too much. So these sort of things is like, I personally think that a lot of people tend to overlook.
Yeah.
So, what do you have to say? And if there are any specific tips for people who are probably getting into this whole space of sustainability, and how do how should they actually move forward when they want to build a label which is sustainable in general?
I think keeping it as local as possible. Just try to source your, the sewing factory as local as you possibly can. And if you are sourcing fabric from overseas, buy as much as you can at one time. Like,
Yeah,
it's difficult as a startup, but if you can keep the travel down, I think that sort of thing is really important. And I think that people also forget about the fact that when things are being shipped overseas, that the fabric has to be sprayed with formaldehyde to keep it from molding. So then you have
yeah,
to deal with the fact that now you have this incredibly toxic chemical on the fabric that you're going to produce sustainable clothing with. Like, it's just, yeah, it's just, when you start moving out beyond your local area, you start running into complications like that. All of these things that you were saying that people overlook, those are the
yeah,
important. So I would say do your research and find out, who who you can work with locally. Who are the manufacturers that are close by, who has the fabric mills that are close by, and make sure when you're building that your business idea, the plan behind your brand, that's an important part of the beginning,
yeah,
because the manufacturing is the important part of the sustainability movement. I mean,
yeah,
nothing being created is truly sustainable. For it to be truly sustainable, we would just have worked with what we already have, what's already been created, and stop consuming. But if you're going to do it in a more mindful way, then all of that I think is really important. And then if you're going to be dyeing your clothes, think about what you want to use, like what do you want to source. If you don't have the ability to work with someone who's working with natural dyes, plant-based dyes, then you know work with low impact dyes, fiber
Yeah.
reactive dyes, something that is non-toxic. But I feel like, particularly in your country, you have so many options of people who have that traditional lineage of working with
Yeah.
plant-based dyes. So reach out to those people, find out if you can work with them, because I feel
Definitely.
like there's actually a woman that I'm getting ready to start a collaboration with, hopefully for an art exhibition that I'm doing in Japan,
Okay.
who is uh, where, I'm not 100% sure where she is located. I just know her through Instagram, but I know that she does production dyeing,
Okay.
plant-based dye. So I think that just really think things through in the beginning and make sure that you have as much as you can, as local as you can.
Definitely. Yeah, that does make sense. Moving towards something that I'm sure everyone really wants to know is that how did Stussy happen to you? And majorly, besides how that happened, we would love to know like your idea and your thought behind coming up with designs and the color combinations, how you came up for each and every city. Like London had a very specific thought process and Paris had a different thought process. So what was that whole thought process when you came up with the designs?
So the uh, Stussy thing happened because they're my friends.
Okay.
So yeah, they're they're like family. I've worked with them before on other fun things, but that's how that happened. They just hit me up this summer and told me this was happening and asked would I be interested in doing 500 shoes. No. And then actually the color combinations, that was all done through the direction of the shoe designer. So,
Okay.
like Paris is the gray lady. So that's,
Yeah.
the city is known as the gray lady. So the shoes were gray. We had initially looked at making like a tea colored shoe for London. And
Yeah.
we ended up going a different direction. I honestly am not really sure what the concepts behind LA and New York were. I just what they had originally wanted wasn't realistic. I wasn't able to do it, so we just kind of played around and made them a little bit like grittier and more a little more experimental. And of course Tokyo was it.
Tokyo.
So yeah, so the blue, Japan blue. So
Of course.
yeah, so and it was kind of, it was just a process to see what would work. So yeah, that's kind of, most of that came from the design director in the shoe department.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But as I remember, since there were like 500 odd sneakers that were supposed to be dyed and everything, I'm sure that each and every sneaker takes a lot of time to be done. It's all hand done, right?
Yes.
So was it done post the drop happened and basis the number of orders we received? Or was it all like the entire catalog was done and basis of how many sneakers were designed, it was sold eventually?
No, it was I decided that I could only do 250 pairs of shoes because it's incredibly labor intensive. It was so much work.
Sure.
And I delivered the shoes, and I think 2 weeks later they did the drop.
Yeah.
And it was sold out in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I couldn't get my hands on any one of them,
I'm
so I
sorry.
know that feeling. I know that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it happened really fast. It was like they I wasn't sure it was happening, and then I got a message from my friend that said, "Hey, can we bring some shoes by?" And I was like, "Wait, what shoes?" What's happening? And then they said, yeah, it's on. And then I had 6 weeks to make all of them. So that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was intense. I worked for 45 days straight.
That's a big task. That's a big
Yeah.
task. We have Shantanu Hazarika over here. He's a great artist from India. He is basically the world doodle art champion over here. And yeah, so he basically won the first doodle art championship of the world. And he personally takes around 20, 25 odd days to get done with one sneaker or one specific design. So kudos to you. Uh, and Shantanu, you got to pump things up, bro. You got to
Yeah.
pump things up. 45 days for 250 sneakers.
Yeah,
Come on.
with next to no help. I did it all myself. Because I couldn't hire anyone because of COVID. So
Yeah, yeah.
it was a lot.
But I personally feel a lot of people are actually particular about getting stuff done by themselves also, considering it's all supposed to be hand done and the control is actually in your hands. There's nothing that involves any machinery into it or any technicality into it. It's all techniques which is like from you and it's actually in your hands. So I personally feel that a lot of people who are into all this, they're very particular that they want to do everything by themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I kind of love it because it also brings in the feeling that okay, this is done by a human. This is done by someone very specific by
Yeah.
your hands,
Yes.
right? So I personally feel that it makes things more special.
I would have liked to have had someone to help me wash all of the shoes.
Okay.
But I understand what you're saying, 100%. Yeah, washing 250 pairs of shoes like 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another big task. I'm sure a lot of people would just personally take 45 more days just to get the washing done.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Shantanu,
No,
no,
I
bro, you
understand
don't.
completely.
Yeah.
It's
Shantanu, no, bro, you don't suck. You just take a lot of time, and a
take
lot
your
of other
time.
people do.
Take your time. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I fully support people going slow and taking their time in life. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
True. So, Stussy was personally great, and we've had quite a lot of discussion about it. But what I personally also want to know more about is the fiber art project. What is it all about? How did you come up with the idea? And what's this whole movement about? It's not just a project, personally, I would say. It's a movement, and it can grow into something really big, as to what I have personally felt. So, coming in from you, what has been the idea behind it, and what is it all about? If you can just share.
I mean, it really is just about inspiring people and educating people on how they can take these things into their own hands and giving people the tools to be able to be creative and create for themselves. You know, not everyone needs to be a fashion designer, not everyone needs to be an artist, not everyone needs to be, people have other roles in lives. They have other talents, but I think that people most people get enjoyment out of being creative. So it really came about bringing people into my world because it is my life, and
Yeah,
it is a movement, and it's and showing them how that they can apply this to their life and how they can approach their life as a work of art as well,
definitely.
like
Yeah,
without pretension, but just that it just takes a really small amount of effort and skill to be able to begin to practice to bring more beauty into your life and into other people's lives. So it doesn't have to be on this grand scale,
yeah,
um, just like when the sneakers came out and encouraging people, to dye their own sneakers, and it doesn't have to be the snoot. Like people are like, oh well, I couldn't get the Stussy fossils. It doesn't have to be the fossils. It can be anything, you know.
Yeah.
And that's about sustainability too. You could have an old pair of Vans or an old pair of, you know, of other canvas AF1s that you don't wear.
Yeah.
So experiment with them. Do something with them. You know, like that. That's really what this is about. You know, just empowering people to realize that they can do a lot more than they realize.
Definitely, definitely. So why I personally also relate to it is because, of course, dying is one bit of it. I'm not really into dying. And personally speaking, I don't do anything at a commercial level. I just try to have fun with my own stuff. I just try to build something better for my own closet. That's about it. There's
But
nothing commercial about it. That's all for myself. So
exactly.
what I personally do is like I pick up my old clothes or something of that sort, and I just cut and sew and make something new out of it to
Yeah.
just add something new and something fresh about it. Right. So that's how I personally relate a lot from the fiber art project. Though it's, for you it's about dyeing, for me it's about cutting and sewing, but eventually it's all about creating something new, something art
Yeah.
for your own closet, right?
Yeah.
But
And particularly from something that already exists.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like it doesn't have to be from scratch. It doesn't have to be.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. And there's this another brand. So there are basically this one international brand. I'm sure you know about it. It's Dust of Gods, right? So they basically they upcycle everything and they create some really high-end fashion clothing. And basically every major celebrity across the globe, be it from Hollywood, be it from Bollywood, be it from Russia or whosoever, they rock it. I think the founder is Italian and he has done an incredible job with it. So he's that guy and he does a lot of that stuff. And likewise, in India, there's this guy, Kashish, who has this brand called Toffel. So he has been doing some really great work at this in the same space as well. But there's one specific thing that I really wanted to know from you, considering we are talking more about sustainability and upcycling and all of that. A lot of people have started using bleach to put up on their clothes or on their denims majorly, to be very honest, because it gives a completely different look and a new look to your old denims. I am guilty of actually doing that, to be very honest. I've
Yeah.
done that because before this whole space, I was actually in a really corporate world. That's how I had a lot of these semi-professional denims and all of that. But now, since I'm more into this whole streetwear world, those were just left hanging in my closet. So I thought that like let's just make something new out of it. So I've
Yeah.
used all of that. So I've used bleach on them. Now, what I've personally realized is I'm able to reuse my old clothes. I'm able to make something new out of it.
Yeah.
But bleach, as we all know, it's kind of toxic and it definitely hampers, a lot of our environment,
Yeah.
right? Once
Yeah.
we actually dispose it off also.
Yeah.
So what do you think about it? Again, there's like this dilemma that I also personally have, like at a lot of spaces wherein at one point in time, I'm just reusing my old clothes and I'm just making something new, and that's bringing another life to my old clothes, right?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I'm using something which is toxic, so how do you think people should go about it? Because I personally see a lot of people using bleach these days, and
Yeah.
there are so many you know even tutorials on YouTube wherein people are just constantly bleaching and using it on their black hoodies or their black t-shirts and their denims and all of that.
Yeah. I think, I mean, I don't even use bleach in my home. So, um, you know, that gets really tricky. Um, I think that you have to be really careful about how you dispose of it. And if you are
Yeah,
going to use bleach, then do multiple projects. You know, don't just be wasteful and use a bunch of bleach and throw it away, and then, you know, just plan out your projects and do as much as you can and use up as much as you possibly can. But if you are going to use it, you just have to be really careful about how you dispose of it and make sure that it doesn't just get dumped into the ground or into the waterway.
Yeah,
Um, I I mean personally, I don't use it. So, but I think that on the flip side of it, um, if you're using it to create something new that you will be wearing and keeping, your clothing from going into, the rubbish bin, then that also has value.
true. See,
So
that's the dilemma. That's the dilemma.
yeah, it always
That's like
is.
a constant thing.
Yeah.
And as we discussed, nothing can be like 100% sustainable. So I
No.
think this is probably one example of it. But after using it on a couple of my personal products, on a couple of my personal denims and everything, I eventually realized that it's really toxic.
Yeah.
Because after a while, even if I'm using my gloves, it actually like my hands actually get very weird. And
Yeah.
that's how you actually realize that, something that's not comfortable for your own skin is definitely not comfortable for the environment,
No. Yeah. And maybe not
right?
the best thing to be, wearing as well, So I think that the more you gain awareness of these sort of things, then
Yeah.
you can kind of sort out how you approach it. But I feel
Yeah,
like
because even after using bleach, you actually have to wash your clothes at least 4 to 5 times before wearing it.
yeah. And
And you
so
have to like just sun dry it and let that be under the sun for as long as possible and all of that stuff.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and make sure that you wear protective, that you wear a mask and, you just have
Yes,
to be careful when you're using
true.
things like that. But I think in the scheme of things, when you're talking about working with those kind of things, it's it's important to protect yourself even when you're working with, plant-based dyes. Because
Yeah.
anything that has like anything that you're grinding up that has small particulates can cause irritation with your
Yes.
so it just you have to think about that with everything that you're working with. But I mean, if people are using a small amount of bleach and turning something old that they don't wear into something that they love and they start wearing again all the time, then okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know
That's nice. That's
yeah.
nice. That's nice. So we've discussed a lot about the ethics and everything, but want to talk more about your experiences and everything. So if you can share what was your first collab that you ever worked on, and I know like you've personally had a lot of products coming in and you've done a lot of stuff independently, but one was your first collab or an assignment that you received from maybe a brand or an individual, and how did that whole experience go about for you?
You know what, I don't know. Oh, first, I mean, I feel like, oh
See,
gosh,
those are the true words of someone who has done so much of work in last 21 years that they don't even remember their assignments.
I don't know. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind was um, ages ago, um, Nike had this um, conceptual house in Venice on the beach. It was called the
Okay.
Blue House, and
Okay.
um, my friend, I was working with two other friends, like making art together, and they sent us a box um, of like samples of workout clothes, and we were supposed to make a fashion installation for this like Nike Blue House. I think that was in like 2002. Um, that's the first thing that comes to mind. That was like doing this weird fashion collaboration with Nike, and it was essentially like upcycling old samples of athletic clothes that that they sent. I think I don't even know if they made it into production, but yeah, that was. I feel like there's probably something before that, um, but then I don't know, around that time I made clothes for like everybody. Like I made clothes for so many different, we made like Britney Spears backup dancers clothes and clothes for Mary J. Blige and clothes for Shakira and clothes for like so many people. But like brand collaboration, I think it was Nike. I think so. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
Sure,
Probably.
sure, sure. See, that's what we are saying. So many that it's actually difficult to remember, right? Yeah,
Oh, it sounds
great.
so obnoxious.
No
I mean, that's
worries.
what happens when you're old. When you get old, you start to forget things too.
No, but personally, I loved all of that, and I think that it's a great way to bring out, considering social media. And this is a discussion that we had with Kenzo also, wherein we were discussing that earlier, wherein people were so heavy, like they were doing an incredible work, any which ways. But now it's so easy to reach out to more people and to connect and to get your work out there
Yeah.
and be the face of it. I think that's something that makes things more fun, and I think that also in a lot of ways inspire a lot of other people because if people won't get to see something, they won't get to know as to how important or how fun that actually can be,
Mm,
right? I
yeah.
personally feel like even if it's dying or even if it's doing something for your own self, I would personally take time out of, for my own self or for my own closet to create something new if I know that that's going to be fun, to be very honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Everyone is so busy these days that they only do something besides their work if that thing is actually fun for them
Yeah.
and that can probably relieve some stress out of their lives. So I
Yeah.
think this is just another way to see as to how enjoyable it gets and how interesting things actually can be if you do something by yourself.
Yeah. And you don't actually have to do it to show people because I feel like
Yep.
that's become such a thing with social media. Like people make things to show what they've made, and I feel like that puts like an unnecessary pressure on it where it's not as fun. Like you were saying,
Yeah.
like it kind of takes the joy out of it. Like just make something for yourself. Just
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Not everything is supposed to be commercial, right?
yeah. And not everything
Yeah.
has to be for anyone else either. It can just be for you, 100%
True.
you. Nobody has to know it. Like I think I'm also a bit of a strange one in the world of social media. Like I don't like to put my face out. I don't like to put my name
Yeah.
on things. I've done a lot of work with companies that I don't put my name on because I don't care because it's not important.
Yeah.
And also just I don't like attention. I don't like
Yeah.
getting attention. Um, so yeah, I feel like sometimes just shutting everything off and going and making something really cool for yourself. That's what it's about. Nobody else has
Yeah.
to know.
True. So I just have two questions left, and after that we'll wrap it up. Before I go on to something interesting, I really want to know something, though we have discussed a lot about it already. But as a consumer of fashion, everyone has their own pieces of clothing, everyone has their own closets and everything, everyone develops their own closet, right? As a consumer of fashion, what should people consider, regardless of whether they are designers or not? Just as someone who would wear a piece of t-shirt or who would wear a piece of a shirt, what should we consider while buying a product or while actually wearing a product, and how should people actually go about this whole space where they are actually building their closet?
Hmm.
Because I think that's also another space wherein most of the people, rather, I would say 95% of people actually lack sustainability. We are
Yeah.
all surrounded with all these fast fashion labels wherein it's just a constant thing that, okay, it's cheap, okay, it's something that looks really cool, it's something that's new in the town, and let's just go for it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really loaded question because I have a lot of opinions about that. um,
So just a few tips if you can just throw out
I think,
at the people.
I mean, really stay away from fast fashion. That's tip number one. And I mean, I understand that not everyone can afford whatever. So it's not like from an elitist perspective, but fast fashion is destroying our planet, and it's also it's just horrible for humanity. Um, and oh, I don't know. That's a really complicated question. I think people need to really think more about their personal style. Being stylish is so much cooler than being fashionable. Like I think that people can kind of get really hooked on what is like the newest thing, but it's not necessarily like the most stylish thing. Like figure out who you are, figure out what your style is, because I feel like that's what's gonna set you apart from everyone else too. Is
Yeah,
having your own style. Like what suits you, like what looks good on you, what makes you feel confident and comfortable. Don't just go out and shop and buy the things that it's like the newest thing because this is what everyone is telling you should have. Because
yeah,
yeah, I think that those are, I feel like it's kind of past a little bit, but like the people that you see on the street that are being photographed, they're the stylish people.
yeah,
These are the trendsetters. Like these are the
true.
people that have personal style, and it's less about like actual fashion. And you
Yeah.
can do that for yourself. Like I think it's just more about like getting to know what really looks good on you. And think about that more than I don't know what the newest thing is. That
Yeah.
also tells you my age too. Because I think probably when I was younger, I was also a little more like trend driven, but not completely. But yeah, I don't know. Just throughout history, the cool people are the stylish ones, right? So
Definitely, definitely.
be more
So
stylish,
that,
less fashionable.
yeah, that makes so much of sense. And I would just personally say, if you ever come up with a book from for yourself, that should be the first quote. Be stylish and not fashionable. And that makes so much of sense. It actually defines the whole terminology
Yeah.
because we tend to most of the people rather feel that being fashionable and being stylish is one as the same thing. It's basically like a synonym, but it's not. It's really
No.
not. And it makes so much of sense. Yeah, true, true on that. So yeah, just one last question for you. It was really, really insightful, and it was so much of fun having you over here. The only one thing that I would love to know more about from you is like, what can we expect moving forward from Lookout as a label?
Um.
I
Well.
saw you come up with a lot of really cool masks and everything, and that was really cool.
Oh, that was actually my seamstress friend. I was just selling them for her. For me, um, I I can't. There's nothing I can talk about. I mean,
Okay.
I'm work like. Hmm, I can't talk about anything. I do have stuff coming up, like Hi Eric. I have some things coming up, but I can't. I'm not allowed to talk about it. I have personally, I have another project that I've been working on for like the last year and almost year and a half now. I did the curation. I don't even know if I can talk about this. Um,
See, that just makes things more fun because that's how you
sorry.
realize that, okay, there's something even more interesting coming in when you can't actually talk about
Yeah,
it.
I don't think I can talk about
Yeah.
that. It's
Because
really
there are just two ways how it goes. There are just two ways how it goes. Either it's really special and really interesting for you personally, or two, you have signed an NDA with a big label. So that's pretty much how it goes. And both the things are pretty much big in themselves.
Yeah, I do. I'm gonna have. I think we have an art exhibition happening in Japan. I can talk about that. Um, oh gosh. I mean, I'm just working on a lot of like cause private artists commission work right now for like private homes. That's nothing exciting to talk about. But there is more stuff coming for this summer. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
I personally, I have been working on, and I haven't had a lot of time, but I've been making just like a bunch of sweatshirts and stuff based off of the same color concept and idea from the Stussy project, just so people can have them.
Yeah.
But I'm so busy that I haven't been able to get them finished. But yeah, I have another collaboration coming up this summer. That'll be fun, and I can't talk
I
about
ho
it.
I
Sorry.
hope I hope I personally get hold of at least one of the products from the coming ins, because I genuinely wanted the Paris or the Tokyo ones, but I just could not get them. And eventually I settled on the fact, okay, let me just get any one of them, and still I could not get any one of them.
I'm so
But
sorry.
no, but that's okay. But that's okay. That's okay. I
You
completely
could make
understand.
them
I've
yourself.
been sorry.
I said you could make them yourself.
Yeah, yeah, we can definitely. But that whole personal touch of Nikki would not actually be a part of my personal seekers in that case, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have been dyeing things for people. People have been sending me their fossil AF ones, and I've been sending,
Yeah,
dyeing them and sending, but it's a little far. So
yeah. But we'll definitely come up with something.
yeah,
Maybe by the time when you are actually in Japan. Japan is not that far though from
let's
here.
not. Yeah.
Yeah, Japan is not that far
Hopefully
from here.
travel, next year things will be open. So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, there's not really anything that I can talk about. So,
That's completely fine. That's completely fine, and it completely makes sense. And as I said, it makes things just more and more interesting, and it just intrigues people more to just stay connected and know more what's coming in next. So yeah, thank you so very much for being over here, Nikki. It was really really insightful. I personally feel that conversations make more sense rather than books. So.
yeah,
This is just one way how we try to bring in pioneers like you, and just have conversations and learn more from your personal experiences, because I personally feel they make more sense than any other thing.
yeah,
It's the experiences that matter, and not the theoretical world of anything.
yeah,
So yeah, thank you so very much for coming over, and it was a pleasure hosting you.
yeah.
I'm sure
Thanks.
that everyone I'm sure that everyone who was watching and everyone who's gonna eventually watch this post, we post it on our IGTV. People will definitely love it. And yeah, thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye bye. Take care. Have a good night.
Good
It's
night.
it's high time for you.
Have
Yeah.
a good day.
You
Bye.
too. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.
So yeah, guys, that was Nikki, and thank you so very much for tuning in. I hope you all enjoyed it. I know this just happened really randomly, but yeah, I'm sure that most of you guys are just getting ready for Sneaker Gully. So catch you all over there, and we're gonna post it on our IGTV. So share this around and spread it to the people who, maybe are just consumers of fashion, or who are actually getting into this whole world of fashion as a stylist or maybe as a designer, so that they can understand more, about the thought behind this whole world of sustainability. So yeah, guys, take care, cheers, and have a great day. Have a great Sunday. See you guys super soon.